Have you ever been accused of being too tidy, too perfect, too neat, too got it all together? No, I haven't either. But actually, it's a problem that we have. If we put too much energy into curating a perfect version of ourselves, I suppose the question is, how approachable are we? How accessible or even authentic are we, not just as individuals, but as representatives of Jesus? Fellow Jesus representative John Peachey joins me on the program. JP, kia ora, nice to see you.
Yes, you too, and a messy one. Can I add? I'm part of the messy crowd. I'd have to say. So I wouldn't know perfect if I fell over it, but still.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Perfect. You wouldn't fall over perfect because they would tidy up and have everything sorted. Now, look, this isn't an excuse for just slovenly, messy, untidy behaviour, but I think we can go too far the other way. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. This was a bit of an epiphany that you had over the weekend. Do you want to tell us that story, John?
Yes, and I don't want to name names and name places, but I attended a wedding, and it was a beautiful wedding. It
Yep.
really was. It was a lovely wedding. It was great worship. It was a beautiful auditorium. The cafe was unbelievable in this church.
Yep.
I mean, people had spent a lot of time, obviously, and effort designing and putting this thing together. The notice board was absolutely spirit level perfect. There wasn't a pin out of place.
Yep.
And I was looking around thinking, oh, and the food was just, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really, really talented, the people who catered from the church and that. But I couldn't help but thinking when I was in there, I wonder who would feel welcome when they came in, because this is so perfect. There's not. It was almost like I felt like there was no room for mess.
Okay.
Now I don't want to be critical of that church, but we're called to go into the world to be in the world, but not of the world.
Yeah.
Not to conform to the patterns, not to fashion ourselves after the world, but we are asked to go out there, and out there is actually messy.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if we bring people into perfect. Um, I don't know. So do I advocate then going and messing up your church? I'm not sure.
I mean, a couple of things on that one. Firstly, it's a wedding, right? You want to start with your
Yeah,
best foot forward. You want to at
totally.
least show that you've made some effort and that this is something which you are committed to. But there seems to be a lot of cultural pressure for the wedding to be perfect, for everything to be absolutely Instagrammable. Um, and so much energy goes into that particular day instead of putting the time in to go, what about the day after the wedding? What about the 30 years after the wedding? What about the way in which we look when nobody's taking our photo? What about the way in which we behave when people aren't looking at us? And look, like many things, I blame social media, John. But I suppose we've got this version of our life that we're saying, hey, this is perfect me, but we can't honestly measure up to that, not in our married life and not in our church life either. We can't always be that perfect.
No, and I think part of our strength, in fact, a huge part of our strength as Christians is to say, yeah, I am messy, and I'm in the process of becoming unmessy.
Yeah.
That's our walk, isn't it? Trying to become unmessy, which is probably not even a real word, but I identify as trying to become unmessy.
Hmm.
Oh, nearly opened a can of worms there. Goodness. Yeah, and I think we have to be real about people out there. Not only do we live in a generation now, or several generations now, who have no understanding, no context for the church that you and I love and a part of, and so I kind of wonder, is perfect coffee and perfect worship the right thing?
Yeah.
I attended churches when, I'm a musician. I've been involved in worship leading for years,
Yeah.
but I've attended churches where I couldn't even get close to the stage because the level of professionalism and performance, and I don't mean performance as in look at me.
Yeah.
I just mean that the level of musicality was so darn high that someone who was aspiring wouldn't have stood a chance. And that for me is like, that's not gospel,
Yeah.
guys. I don't, and I think it's, probably confounding my own argument here, Andrew, because I think, should we be striving for excellence? Yeah, absolutely. I think we
Yeah.
should. I think we should be striving for excellence when it comes to presenting our gifts to the Lord and so forth. But actually, he's like, yeah, I'll take the little boy's button in the offering plate
Yeah.
happily, and so we can't forget that, right? That's the
I, th- I
that's the reality.
Yeah, I think part of the issue here, and yeah, this is not an advertisement to say, "Hey, let your standards slip." I mean, you've obviously put work into your appearance for today's show. Hey, I appreciate that. You know, this isn't an excuse for saying never do the housework, but actually, I'm not sure that the bad coffee, the slightly out of tune worship, or even the not very functional website is the actual obstacle that we're putting between people and an encounter with Jesus Christ. Perhaps it's the opposite of that. Perhaps it is this perfect version of what it looks like to be a Christian that we're saying, hey, join our church, then you can be perfect like us, where people are thinking, you know what? I couldn't do that. I'm not worthy. I couldn't measure
Yeah.
up to that. Or at the very least, that just looks exhausting.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's a whole program by itself.
Yeah.
I mean, we exhaust people. It's a great word. We exhaust people in the pursuit of excellence, and we basically kill people off
Yeah.
in the pursuit of excellence. I think that's why a lot of people don't go to church any longer. Is it the drive, the demand is unrealistic in this day and age, and no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we just have to be aware. If you ask me the question, Andrew, did I feel comfortable walking into that church?
Yeah.
The answer was hell no.
Uh,
I didn't feel comfortable at all. It's like, oh, it was beautiful,
yeah.
and the wedding was beautiful, and the celebrant was fantastic. I happened to recognize him, and I had a chat with him, and he did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Real man of God, and the way that he delivered it, and the rest of it, and the bride and groom were perfect and lovely. It was just a beautiful wedding.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't help thinking. I wonder if this is untenable when it comes to the lost, the unsaved, and what they're used to. And I'm not, again. It's just kind of this kind of paradox, really. Do we make our churches so much like the world, and hear what I'm saying here? I mean, in terms of the physical appearance that people feel comfortable walking in, or do we make them something they've never experienced before because it's an adventure? I don't know, but I think we need to ask the question: is this somewhere that the unsaved, the people who are messy, I've often said, and this is going back a number of years now, I was asked to speak when I was at Rhema about 6 or 7 years ago. I was asked to speak at a conference on sexual addiction, which is not really my subject.
Mhm.
But what I said to the organizer before I interviewed her was there anyone talking at the conference about redemptive community?
Yeah.
And she said, what do you mean? Explain that. I said, well, it seems to me that all the good work done with addictions and problems in the counseling room is all completely wasted if someone walks back into a church that shames you, that shames you for your
Yeah.
behavior. So she said, well, come and talk at the conference. And I talked to the conference, and I said, the prostitute might have to still be the prostitute and still come to church on a Sunday morning
Yeah.
until the Holy Spirit deals with her. Now, I don't know that we're ready for that mess, but the reality is you might have a heroin addict, you might have people who are alcoholics who have some sexual issues, who have some violence issue going on. Are they going to feel welcome coming into your environment? And again, paradox. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but I think we need to think about it.
The issue of, I suppose, welcome and manakitanga, do people from outside of the church, do people in their brokenness feel like they are welcome and feel like they belong in the church environment? And I suppose it's easy to point the finger at the church in speech marks, whatever that is,
Yeah.
but that's us individually. And that's us not just on a Sunday morning, and it's not just up to the eldership or whoever makes decisions about the songs on a Sunday morning. That's about the way in which we present ourselves, yes, on a Sunday morning, but also socially. I think there's so many people that are in this space where they cannot have anybody over because their house isn't Instagram ready. Their house isn't
Yeah.
perfect. That
Yeah.
there's weeds in their garden, and the guttering is clogged, and it's created a mess on the driveway. So they cannot possibly open their homes to show the love of Jesus. I think in our pursuit of excellence, we've lost some authenticity, and perhaps that's a bigger stumbling block than the bad coffee, John.
I think that's right. I mean, I remember years ago, so years ago, old man. I mean, going back into the late '80s and '90s,
Yeah,
people would just drop in after church. People would just front up,
yeah,
right? They come with a loaf of bread or some sticky buns or whatever, right?
yeah.
There was no kind of invitation issued and appointments made. People would just rock up, and then something changed, and people wouldn't do that anymore. Which I found really odd. But when you look through the New Testament, one thing you can guarantee is there is mess.
Yeah.
Is that everywhere that Jesus went, he created mess because that's where people were at, right? They were messy tax guys, thieves. There were messy people who've been married multiple times, have caught in the act of adultery. It was mess, 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 mess. Because he was attracted to mess because that's where he found, that's where the light came,
Yeah.
right? He went into the world to be the light of the world. And I remember seeing, I was at a church where a lady had been through some pretty gnarly stuff. She was up the front for prayer every Sunday. And I remember someone saying one day, "Oh, she's up there for prayer again." I just got wild. I'm like, "Yeah, why aren't you up there?" I
Yeah.
mean, I'd be up every Sunday for prayer,
Mm.
given the opportunity, because I need all the help. People who know me know this. I need all the help I can get, man. But we've got to get messy. I think that because that's the Jesus model. Jesus turned up, demons started to manifest, and stuff started to fall out of people. I think maybe we need that again.
The part of the issue with this, I suppose, is we're allowed to have testimonies where we used to be like this, but now that's now I'm this redeemed, photoshopped Instagram version of myself. I used to be this, but now I'm perfect. And not only is that unattainable, not only is that unexhausting, but that just smells like hypocrisy, doesn't it? Because we're putting so much energy into pretending to be a version of ourselves which isn't sustainable, that isn't measuring up.
Yeah.
That if we say we are one thing and actually behind the scenes we're something else, I think that's in the list of things that people don't like about Christians and Christianity. That's definitely in the top five. Maybe that needs working on rather than whether or not everybody in the worship band's got in-ear sets, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that drives me crazy is when people say, "Oh, he's a godly man."
Yeah.
Really? Godly? Cool.
But
That's a bold statement right there.
exactly.
I'd rather be called a messy man, to be quite honest, because I'm in process. I think that, but I know what they mean. But I think again, it's about we're saved, so the house is not for us.
Yeah.
Right, the house is for others. The house, we talked the other day about we're the safe for the unsafe, right?
Mm.
So to be safe, sometimes you have to look a bit unsafe yourself. I think maybe I don't know, a bit messy.
Hey, some interesting thoughts on that from one mess to another. Of course, people can find out more about the stuff that you do at the thinkfarm.org, and I would recommend that they check out the podcast, the People Mechanics podcast. JP, thanks for what you do. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Nice to see you.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.